This is how to customize your new LUXX paddle to look like this. In this video, I'll show you how to correctly install your Hesacore grip, how to overgrip it, where to put your tungsten tape, and how to edge guard your paddle. I'll put discount links for you below. Before I get into the thick of it, I just want to briefly go over why I customize my paddle this way instead of just playing with it how it comes. So all paddles come with this stock grip, and depending on the company that you purchase your paddle from, some stock grips can be pretty not tacky and not comfortable. Selkirk, I actually happen to really like the stock grip, but after finding the Hesacore grip, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, it kind of changed the game completely for me because this Hesacore grip actually has grooves where your fingers fit perfectly, so you don't have to really adjust where you're going to find your grip anymore because it's ergonomic. So I change all my grips now to Hesacore, and I put some overgrip on it. Now, regarding tungsten tape, this is definitely something more optional, but Selkirk LUXX paddles are very soft paddles, and they come in pretty light. Mine came in at 7.8 ounces. I like to have my paddles hovering around 8.3 to 8.5 ounces. The extra tape around the throat of the paddle provides a little bit more stability and pop near the throat of the paddle. It gives it a little bit more swing weight, so when you swing through, there's a little bit more oomph to the paddle. Anyways, let's go back to the video. All right, so let's get started into installing the Hesacore grip. So I have a few different grips I have on me here. I have the gel, which is probably the softest one. The tour grip is standard. This is the one I have on most of my paddles. And I have not tried the pink one yet. This one is an extra thin one. I typically don't really like super thin handles, so I'm a little bit reluctant to try this, but I might just throw it on one of these just to try it out. This is probably one of my favorites. I'm torn between the carbon and the tour grip. The carbon is a very rigid and a bit more stiff, so you get to feel the feedback of your shots a little bit more. So I think for my LUXX paddle, I will put on the carbon one. So let's take this out of the box here. All right, these little tabs are very important. Do not throw them away. Okay, so this is what the grip looks like here. Okay, as you can see, this is just a mold. Now, you're gonna want to do an ungodly thing and take off this beautiful stock grip from Selkirk. Selkirk really does do a good job on their stock grips, so this is no shade to their stock grips, but I really just like the mold and contouring of the Hesacore. So we're gonna take this all off. And this is kind of an interesting moment where you can see just the raw, bare bones of the LUXX paddle. And most paddles don't look like this. So as I take this off, most paddles you'll see kind of exposed honeycomb polymer. With the LUXX paddle, you can see it's unibody. So that's what I think gives this paddle a really great feel to it, is this whole piece is one construction. All right, so we're gonna wanna put this baby onto this baby. And how we do that is you wanna flip it upside down here. And then you take each of these plastic tabs and you're going to want to, basically you just want to let it slip through easier. I have seen people heat up their mold, their Hesacore grip first, maybe in some warm water, just to make it a little bit more malleable and flexible to slip in. Now I will say this black one, this carbon one, is one of the tougher ones to put on, just because it's much more stiff and rigid. So that is something that, you know, you'll see me maybe struggle with in this video, we'll see. So once you have each of these little plastic pieces in, you just want to open it up a little bit so that it goes over the base of the paddle here. All right, so once you got this base on and you have the plastic tabs in, the rest becomes pretty easy because you just basically pull down the tabs, just one side at a time. Pull it down. All right, almost there. If you do end up getting the carbon one, I would recommend putting it into some warm water first. just because this one is a little bit more stiff. It doesn't slide in as easy as the Tour one. All right. Okay, we got it. So, take off the plastic tabs now. Okay. And before we wrap it with some overgrip, I recommend just holding it and finding your grip, whether you play with Continental or Western or Eastern, and find if this feels good for you. For me, this is how I hold my paddle. And as you can see here, each of my fingers fit into the little hexagon shape. My thumb fits in this little groove here. Index finger wraps around. So that feels quite nice for me. So now the second step is to put on your overgrip. I saw my friend Alex have this, he had these perforated Wilson overgrips. I've used Wilson overgrips before and I actually really quite like them because they're extremely tacky. And these are perforated, so it gives a little bit extra breathing room and texture. And we'll see how these feel. All right, roll out that bad boy. All right, so first thing you're gonna wanna do with wrapping your overgrip is, you see this little tapered side here? This little tapered side, this is going to go at the bottom of the paddle handle. So take that little plastic piece off. And I'm gonna start right about here, okay? And then you don't want to pull it super tight, but you don't want it to have air bubbles either. Okay. I'm gonna wrap it. There we go. Now this Wilson overgrip is actually quite thin, so I am going to actually wrap it a little bit less tight. I'm really just trying to get a nice even spacing on my wrap. I feel like that's the most important thing, is get a consistent spacing and get a consistent tautness of your overgrip. Okay, reaching the end here. Perfect, just like that. So once you reach this end here, this is when you use your tape here. Use the Wilson overgrip here, right here, and I'm going to wrap it here. Just like that. Ooh, wow. This Wilson overgrip is very tacky. I quite like this, the feeling of this overgrip. Yes. Yeah, you know what? I really do like the feeling of this carbon one. I've been playing with the Tour one for a while. I have it on my current LUXX here. But something that I really like with the carbon one is the ridges are much, much more pronounced. That feels really, really nice. Yeah. All right, so now that I have my grip perfectly wrapped, I'm going to add my tungsten tape. So I get these from Selkirk. I prefer these over lead tape, just because I don't like to have to deal with lead too much. Tungsten is a little bit safer. So this is definitely your preference, but for me, I like to add one strip. Each strip is 0.1 ounces. And I'm gonna put it at the throat of my paddle, all the way leading up to the midsection of my paddle. So I'll put it right about where this LUXX logo starts here, right there. And I'm getting it right in the middle of the paddle. There, there, there. And I'm just going to stick it all the way through. So it looks like that, okay? And the nice thing about tungsten is you don't have to put on electric tape over it, because tungsten is not toxic versus lead it is. You want to cover that up. But with tungsten, I just leave this as is, and I don't have to deal with more tape. Excellent. good. So that is the tungsten tape finished. Now the very last thing that I like to add is some Edgeguard. Because this paddle, the LUXX paddle, does not have an Edgeguard, I like to just have something to protect it when I'm doing like paddle taps. I don't like to scratch it up too much, especially when it's a new paddle. Something I will say as well is this Edgeguard right here is 0.1 ounces. So it's the same weight as a whole tungsten tape. So if you don't want to add more swing weight to your paddle, I would just forego this tungsten tape or this Edgeguard. But for me, I don't mind a little bit more extra weight at the top, just because this paddle is already quite light and it's a very soft oriented paddle that I don't mind having this slight amount of extra weight. The easy way to put on the Selkirk Edgeguard is to line up this logo right here with this logo right here. If you line that up, it's gonna fit perfectly. Okay, and I'm just looking to get this all nice and even here. This Edgeguard that I'm using is a 30mm Edgeguard. You wanna make sure it's 30mm and not 20mm because the 20mm might not cover it completely actually. Okay. And just push out all the air bubbles. Excellent. Perfect, so I have my Edgeguard on my paddle, I have my overgrip with my Hesacore, and last thing that I like to do is weigh my paddle, just to make sure that it's falling in between the 8.3 to 8.5 ounces. To me, I'm holding this feels like it's about 8.4, so this is just about right. All right, and that is how you set up your Selkirk LUXX paddle to my specifications with the Hesacore grip, the tungsten tape, and my Edgeguard. And I'm also introducing the Wilson Perforated grip. I'm really excited to change to this grip because I like the texture of this grip quite a lot. As always, thanks for watching and supporting the channel. Make sure to go hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.